If your company offered you millions of dollars, how would you respond? Now imagine they told you that keeping that money meant staying silent about what you believed could become the greatest threat civilization has ever created. Would you still sign? Most people probably would. Daniel Kokotajlo didn't, and this is where uh, the story gets uncomfortable, because Daniel wasn't working for some obscure AI startup nobody had heard of. He worked at OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, as a researcher and AI forecaster. His job was, quite literally, to think about where artificial intelligence was heading. And after seeing enough from the inside, he came to a conclusion that sounds almost absurd. He believes there's roughly a 70% chance that advanced AI leads to something catastrophically bad. Now, before you misunderstand that number, Daniel isn't saying there's a 70% chance every human on Earth gets killed. His estimate is broader than that. He's talking about scenarios where AI could take control, trigger a catastrophe on an enormous scale, or create consequences that could eventually lead to human extinction. And then he made another prediction. Superintelligence could arrive before the end of this decade, not 2050, not 2100, potentially within the next few years. And here's what I want you to keep in mind as this story unfolds. Daniel isn't saying AI will wipe out humanity. He's saying we may be building something powerful enough to do it without knowing for certain that we'll be able to control it. And if that sounds like science fiction, wait until you hear what happened when he left OpenAI. The $2 million question. When Daniel left OpenAI, he received his exit paperwork, and buried inside that paperwork was a clause that could have cost him a fortune. According to Daniel, the agreement restricted his ability to criticize the company. If he refused to sign, he could potentially lose his equity. The amount at stake, around $2 million. For Daniel and his wife, that wasn't spare cash. He said it represented roughly 80% of their net worth at the time. So suddenly, this wasn't just a disagreement with an employer. It was a choice between money and principle. Daniel and his wife thought about it. They consulted lawyers and eventually decided, don't sign. They were prepared to lose the money. Then something unexpected happened. The story became public. Employees inside OpenAI began asking questions about the agreement. The controversy grew, and eventually, OpenAI backed down. Daniel kept the money. But the money isn't actually the most interesting part. The interesting part is why he was willing to risk it. Because Daniel believed the public needed to hear what was happening in the AI industry, even if that meant putting his own financial future at risk. And he wasn't warning people about a chatbot becoming slightly smarter. He was thinking much further ahead. He was paid to predict the future. Daniel joined OpenAI in 2022. His work involved forecasting. In simple terms, he wasn't just asking, what can AI do today? He was asking, what could AI do next? That distinction matters, because today's AI still makes mistakes. It can hallucinate information. It makes us understand simple questions. It can produce something completely wrong while sounding incredibly confident. So you might look at today's AI and think, how is this supposed to destroy civilization? Daniel's concern isn't really about today's AI. It's about what happens when AI becomes capable of helping humans build better AI. Think about how software is normally developed. Human researchers write code, they run experiments, they study the results, they identify weaknesses, then they improve the system. Now imagine AI can perform more and more of that process. It writes the code, it designs experiments, it analyzes the results, it finds problems, it suggests improvements. Then the improved AI becomes even better at doing AI research. And now you have a loop. AI helps create better AI. Better AI helps create even better AI. And suddenly, progress may no longer move at the pace of human researchers. It could accelerate south. That is one of the reasons Daniel is so concerned about the arrival of superintelligence. The timeline is the problem. Daniel became one of the leading authors of AI 2027, a scenario mapping out what could happen if AI development continues accelerating. It wasn't presented as a guaranteed prediction. It was a possible chain of events. AI becomes increasingly capable at coding, then it becomes better at AI research, then increasingly autonomous, and eventually it reaches a level where machines may be able to outperform humans across almost every intellectual task. But something else happened that caught Daniel's attention. When he spoke with people working around major AI companies, he says some thought his timelines were actually too slow. According to him, people at companies such as OpenAI and Anthropic have sometimes pushed him toward earlier estimates, including 2027 or 2028. That doesn't mean superintelligence is definitely arriving in 2027. Nobody knows that. But think about the implication. The people closest to this technology aren't necessarily saying, we have decades to figure this out. Some believe the opposite, and that raises an even bigger question. Why are they moving so fast? Everyone is afraid of losing. Imagine you're the CEO of an AI company. You believe advanced AI could be dangerous. You want to slow down, but your competitor is still building. Another company is spending billions, another country is racing ahead. So you think if we stop, somebody else will get there first. Your competitor is thinking exactly the same thing. And now everybody keeps running. Not because everybody wants disaster, not because everybody is secretly evil, but because nobody wants to be the person who stopped while everyone else continued. This is the dangerous part of an AI race. The incentives can push everyone toward the same destination, even when many of them are worried about what might be waiting there. And the more powerful AI becomes, the more valuable being first could become. So the race gets faster, and the technology gets stronger, and the window to understand what we're building gets smaller. What happens when the machine is smarter?